Hello class, this is your instructor, Miss Birchfield, and this lesson we're going to talk about dividing polynomials. So we're going to look at three different division problems of polynomials. In the first one here, we're going to look at when we're dividing by a monomial. And remember, a monomial is one term. So when dividing by a monomial, all we do is write each term of the numerator over the denominator. So we're going to set this first one up. We're going to write 12x to the 4. We're going to divide it by the monomial in the denominator. We're going to write 6x squared. We're going to divide it by the 2x squared. And we're going to do the same with 10 and divide it by 2x squared. Once you set this up, then you're going to use the rules of exponents to simplify each term. So we're dividing, so we're going to divide 12 and 2. And when we're dividing like bases, remember you subtract exponents. So that's x squared. Here for the second term, we're going to get 3. The x2 and the x2, if you use the subtraction of exponents, you get 0. Remember, that's just 1, so the x's go away. And then this one, we're going to divide 10 divided by 2 is 5. Well, we can't do anything with the x squared, so we leave it in the denominator. For the second one, we're going to set this one up. We're going to write each term of the numerator divided by the denominator, which we have a monomial again. Here in the second term, we're going to get divided by the monomial 4x cubed y to the 5th. And then our last term, that 10x to the 6th, y to the 3rd, divided by 4x to the 3rd, y to the 5th. So we're going to divide. So think about dividing. We need to reduce the fraction. So this is going to reduce to 9 over 2. And we're going to subtract our exponents here. So when we subtract x7 and x3, we get x to the 4, which is positive. So I'm going to leave x to the 4 in the numerator. And then y to the 6th divided by y to the 5th is y to the 1st, which is also positive. So it stays in the numerator. Bring my minus down. And we're going to divide. 12 divided by 4 is 3. We're going to subtract the 14 and the 3 to get x11, and we're going to subtract the 8 and 5 to get y to the 3rd. Bring plus down. We're going to reduce the fraction. That's going to reduce to 5 over 2. And we're going to get x to the 6th divided by x to the 3rd is a positive x to the 3. And when we subtract the exponents here, xy divided by x5, well, 3 minus 5 is a negative 2. So this is going to actually be in the denominator, so we can make it a positive 2 in the denominator. So this next example is long division. So when we divide, this is if we have a binomial. And we can use long division for any division by a binomial. It says, put both terms in descending order with a place for everything. So when we talk about a place for everything, we want to make sure like the numerator here is in descending order, which it is. And I have a place, I have a square term, I have and that should be a k right here. I have a square term, and I have the term to the first power and my constant. So the first thing we're going to do, we're going to write the problem as if dividing whole numbers. So we're going to write it as k plus 6, and we're going to divide it by, we're going to put the trinomial underneath. And then once we set this up, we're going to divide the first term of 2k squared. So this is under our here the 2k squared by the first term and the k plus 6. So we're going to divide it by this k here. So 2k squared divided by k is going to be 2k. because remember we're dividing, you're saying 2 divided by 1, which is 2, and then k squared divided by k is k. And we wrote the result above the division line. The next thing we're going to do is multiply the 2k by the k plus 6 in front. So 2k times k is 2k squared. And then 2k times 6 is 12k. Now we're going to subtract. So I'm going to come over here. I'm going to change this to a subtraction. Of course, the 2k squares are going to cancel out. And then we have 17 minus 12 gives us 5k. And after we subtract, we're going to bring down the plus 30, and then we're going to repeat again. So then I think I copied something wrong, so let's scratch this out. So we're going to repeat. All right, so now what we're going to do is take this 5k, we're going to divide it by this k here. So 5k divided by k is 5. Then we're going to multiply this 5 that we got times the k plus 6, which will give us 5k plus 30. All right, now we're going to subtract. And of course, cancels here. 30 minus 30 is 0. So this is the remainder, which is 0. So the answer is 2k plus 5. So if you want to, you can check this by multiplying out the 2k and the k plus 6, and you should get 2k. You should get this right here. So let's do one that doesn't have all of the writing. So what we're going to do is look at this. All of these are in order. All right, so we're going to set this up as 3x plus 2 divided by 12x cubed plus 2x squared plus 5x plus 8. So the first step, we're going to divide. We're going to take this 12x cubed, we're going to divide it by the 3x. That's going to give us 4x squared. Now we're going to multiply 4x squared to the 3x and the 2. We will get 12x cubed plus 8x squared. The next thing is to subtract. So the first cube terms are going to cancel, then 2 minus 8 is going to be a negative 6x squared, and we're going to bring down the 5x. Now we're going to repeat. We're going to divide the negative 6x squared by the 3x. That's going to give us a negative 2x. Now we're going to multiply negative 2x to the 3x and the 2. We get a negative 6x squared minus 4x. Here we're going to subtract again, but when we subtract these negatives, it changes to positives. So the first terms are going to cancel. 5 plus 4 is 9x, and I'm going to bring down my plus 8. Then we're going to repeat again. 9x divided by the 3x is 3 with no x. Then we're going to multiply 3 to the 3x and the 2. So that's going to give us 9x plus 6. Now we're going to subtract again. Subtract. And that's going to give us, the first terms will cancel. 8 minus 6 is 2. So this is our remainder. So to write our answer here, we're going to write it out as 4x 5x squared minus 2x plus 3. Since our remainder is positive, I'm going to put a plus, and I'm going to write 2 over what we divided by, which is 3x plus 2. So anytime you get a remainder that's not at 0, that just means that the polynomial, you could say it doesn't go into it evenly. It's not a factor. This third method is it's called synthetic division. So we can use it when we're dividing by a binomial, but we can only use it if when we look at this, if the x term, the leading coefficient is a 1. So when I go back, this problem, we would not be able to do long division because that's not a 1. Now, if I go back to this first problem, we could use synthetic on here, on this example, because that's a 1 right there. So to show you synthetic, all right, what we're going to do is write the coefficients of the dividend. So what we're going to do, your coefficients are 5, 11, negative 3, and 1. So I'm going to write out 5, 11, negative 3, and 1. And then I'm going to take the opposite of this number. So I'm going to make it a negative 3. And then I'm going to leave a little bit of space here and draw me like a line. So the first step here is to bring down the first coefficient. So we're going to bring that 5 down. So we're going to multiply the number on the bottom row by the divisor number. So we're going to say 5 times negative 3. And we're going to place that here under this second number here. So that's the negative 15. Then we're going to add the numbers or subtract depending on your sign in the second column. So 11 minus 15 is a negative 4. And we're going to continue this process. So we're going to take negative 4, we're going to times it to the negative 3 to get 12. Then we're going to subtract or add these two terms depending on the sign. This is subtraction. So we're going to have 9 here. And then 9 times negative 3 is a negative 27. And we're going to get a negative 26. So that last number is your remainder. The numbers on the bottom row are the coefficients of the quotient that is 1 degree less than the dividend. So the dividend here was a cube. So what we do is we're going to start out and write 5 is the coefficient of the x squared term. So we're going to 1 degree less than what we started with. Then it's going to be a negative 4x, a positive 9, with a remainder of negative 26 over x plus 3. So let's do one more. So when we set this one up in synthetic, I'm going to write the coefficients of the numerator. Notice though, when we write this out, notice the exponent. I have a 3 and then I have a 1. So we missed the square term. So when we write these out, I've got to have a place for everything. So the 5 goes with the cube term. I need something for the square term, so I'm going to put a 0. The 6 is for the x term, and then the 8 is the constant. And then I'm going to do the opposite of this number, which is a negative 2. We bring down the 5. We're going to multiply 5 times negative 2, which is negative 10. We're going to add or subtract, so that's just negative 10. Negative 10 times a negative 2 is a positive 20. We're going to add to get 26. 26 times negative 2 is going to be a negative, that's going to be 2, 1 is at 52. And then we're going to subtract, so I'm going to get a negative, I'm doing terrible at doing math in my head, so let's see, that's 52. That's 44, negative 44. And so that's the remainder. So when we fill in, we started out with a cube, so we're going to go one less, so 5x squared minus 10x plus 26 minus 44 over x plus 2. All right, thank you for listening to this lesson. If you have any questions, just let me know.